Navigating the Mobius is easier than it looks, and in this video I'll show you. Let's divide it into three sections. These two, these three, and these two. We'll start with row 3 since they are the most intuitive ones. Level is output level. This knob lets you cut or increase the output level with 3 dB. Unity gain is at 12 o'clock. Speed and depth are just like the speed and depth control you'll find on any modulation pedals. Do you notice that the light next to the 8 changed color? This is Mobius' way of telling us that the current setting is different than the settings that are saved in the preset. This means that we haven't changed the preset permanently, and that if we leave the preset and come back to it, it will be back to the saved settings, not the ones we just made. If, on the other hand, we want to make our adjustments permanent, we just press the type knob, hold it until the display says save, and press type again. Now we can leave the preset and come back to it with the same settings. So, simply said, these 3 knobs does not tell you anything about what the settings are. You just use them to make changes to the current settings. If you want to know more about saving presets, there will be a video about that in the Mobius how-to playlist also. Moving on to these two, Param1 and Param2. What these two do changes from preset to preset. That might sound complicated, but in reality it's not. And actually you don't have to use these two ever if you don't want to. And if you're fairly new to Mobius, I suggest you just ignore these two for now. What they do is that if there's a parameter in the deeper menus that you want to be able to control from the front panel the same way that you can with speed and depth, you can assign that parameter to one of these 2 knobs. Personally, the only time I use these 2 is when I'm making a preset that I want to be able to control with an expression pedal. Other than that, I actually never use these 2. So now you know all there is to know about 5 of the 7 knobs. Now you are ready for these 2, the main ones. I'll bet that at least 95% of the time you'll ever turn a knob on a Mobius, it will be one of these 2. They're a bit more complex than the first 5, but also strangely intuitive to use once you get the basic understanding of what they do. Type has 4 functions. Number 1, you use it to choose which of the 12 types of modulation machines you want to use. Currently, we are on preset 90A, which is a pattern tremolo. Turn the type knob when we're on a filter effect. We are still in the same preset, 90A, and just like when we adjusted the speed and depth knobs, the light has changed color to tell us that this is not the settings that are currently saved in this preset. Our change that we changed from pattern tremolo to filter is not saved. If we go to another preset, like 90B, and then go back again, our changes has gone and the preset is back to pattern tremolo. Which brings us to the second function of the type knob, which is saving presets. Same example, we're in preset 90A, which is a pattern tremolo. We change it to filter and the light changes color. But this time we press type and hold it until the display says save. Then we press it again, the light changes color again, back to normal, to let us know that we have saved our changes. Preset 90A is no longer a pattern tremolo, but a filter effect. So that's the first 2 things you can do with the type knob. Number 1, use it to choose what kind of modulation you want to use. 2, use it to save changes in a preset. The third thing is that when you are in the deeper menus of Mobius, the type knob works more or less like the escape button on your computer. It's your way out. So if you ever get lost in the Mobius and find yourself in a menu and think, I don't want to be here, press type and you will be safely back home again. And if you do not press and hold it, whatever changes you made in the menu will not be saved. So as long as you know how to use the type knob, you really don't have to worry about doing anything wrong when you are menu diving. The fourth and last function of the type knob is that if you just push it without holding it in, it lets you toggle the display between showing your current bank and your current BPM, which of course is very handy. The last knob is the value knob. This has 3 functions and they're all pretty straightforward. Number 1, if the display shows which bank you are in, turning the value knob lets you scroll through all of your banks and presets. Number 2, if the display shows your current BPM, the value knob lets you fine-tune the speed of the LFO. Wait, isn't that what the speed knob does, you may ask? And yes, the speed knob changes the speed of the LFO, and it lets you move through a massive range quickly. The value knob lets you fine-tune the speed. If this seems a bit strange now, it's gonna make a whole lot of sense when you start using it. The third function, the value knob, is your gateway into the menus in the Mobius. Press it once and you are in the parameter menu for the current mod machine. This is where you go to make other changes to your modulation than just changing speed or rate. For instance, if you want to change a chorus into a vibrato or an envelope filter into a wah-wah. And if you want to get out of the menu, press type and we are safely back home. The fourth and last function of the value knob is also accessing a menu, but this time it's the global menu, where you go to make changes that are affecting every preset. For instance, if you want the expression input to be used with a foot switch or with an expression pedal. Yes, there will be a separate video about that in the Mobius how-to playlist also eventually.